Erev Torah type. It says in Midrash that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to bring together, Chatan and Kala, zivug, to make zivug between man and woman, what does he do? If they live in a different place, he makes one of them travel, to the other place where the other person lives. Either the man has to travel or the woman has to travel. One of them has to travel, and they meet up. Hashem makes them meet together. That's how he does it. So, what do you see from there? That who is the one who makes the shidduchim? HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes the shidduchim. We don't do that. That's not our job. There is a story brought down in the Midrash, also another interesting story, which is that there was this Chacham, who was alive during the Roman Empire. So what happened was, right, that the Caesar had a daughter, she was like a princess, and so this rabbi probably was coming, to the house of the Caesar, he was close to the Malchut, some rabbis are like that, they get into politics, they go with the politicians. So whatever, right, they're doing it l'shem shemaim. Anyway, so what happened was that he was there, with the princess there, the daughter of the Caesar. So this daughter, asked the rabbi, says, tell me, and says, your God, what does he do all day? What's his occupation? Does he work on 47th Street? Where does he go? So the rabbi told her, says, our God, it says 1/3 of the day he's making shidduchim. This is what he's doing. Matching up, husband and wife, man and woman, matching them up like this. He makes shidduchim. 1/3 of the day, that's what he does. 1/3 of the day, it's 8 hours a day. That's a long time to do shidduchim, right? So this princess, tells the rabbi, she laughs at him, chuckles at him, says, that's what your God does? He says, what kind of God is that? So I can do that also. What's the big deal, There are many shadchanim, around, I can also be shadchan. What's the big deal? So the rabbi tells him, he says, okay, well, let's see what you can do, let's see. So she says, okay, you know what? Says, I have servants, in the palace of the Caesar, they have over there 1,000 servants, going here, there, slaves, so he says, you know what I'm going to do? He says, I got 500 girls, 500 guys, I'm going to match them up, and make shidduchim with all of them. I'm going to show you, I can do it too. Right? So what happened? She made shidduchim, This girl, this guy, right? You know how people are, right? When they make shidduch, what do they look at? They look at sometimes the height, This one is 5'10". The girl is 5'6". Nice, good. Nice height. Something like this, right? Or some other, features, right? This one, the nose is up. This one, the nose is down. It's good together, One up nose, one down nose. Something like this, right? Everyone has their own ideas in their head, Yeah, this one comes from the south. This one comes from the south, so they're compatible. They come from the same area. They're both from the same area. They're compatible. Or this one is Bukharian, right? Samarkand. This one is Tashkent, right? It's okay. We can do that. It's good. Okay, so she made some shidduchim, right? He matched all of them up. She matched all of them. So what happened, right? The next day, the rabbi comes back again to the palace, of the Caesar, and he sees the girl, the daughter. So he tells her, he says, oh, what happened? You made the shidduchim? You did it? Huh? So she says, yeah. He says, I matched all of them up. So he asks her, so what happened? It went well? Good shidduch? So she says, I have to tell you the truth, Rabbi. Each one of them is fighting one with the other. They cannot stay together. This one broke her nose. This one broke his, give him a black eye. They're fighting, hitting each other. Says, it's not working out for me. It looks like it's not my mazal, to be shadchan, to be a matchmaker. So the rabbi, now he's the one who's laughing, right? Chuckles. He says, you see, That's why you need God, to make shidduchim. Why? Because we don't know. We cannot do this. This is not something that we understand to make shidduchim, According to the height, according to this, right? All kinds of things like this. This doesn't matter, all these things. HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows what's inside, That's the thing. So, there's another story like this, interesting, in the Midrash about Shlomo HaMelech, They say that Shlomo, he heard about this, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes a shidduchim. And he brings one to the other, One of them has to travel, one comes and meets the other one, and that's it, Gamarnu, finish, right? That's it, right? You do the wedding and everything is good. So Shlomo says, he says, you know what? You know what it is, right? When you hear this, it's a little hard to believe, that Hashem can do this, to make shidduchim like this, It's a little bit hard to, like you think, maybe, you need some human intervention, you need some shadchanim, to help Hashem, He can't do it by himself. People think like this, they cannot understand. How does Hashem do it by himself? We have to also do something, we have to do ishtadlut, right? That's what they say, right? Today in America, all the Jewish people, they say, you have to do ishtadlut. What does ishtadlut mean? You have to make an effort, You have to make effort to find shidduch. Ishtadlut, right? So, Shlomo says, but Hashem says, there's no ishtadlut. I'm the one who makes the shidduchim. So he says, you know what? He says, I'm going to test if this works, I'm going to do a test. I'm going to do nisayon. So what did he do? Right? He had a daughter, that she needed to get married. She was looking for a shidduch. Young daughter. So what did she do? What did she do? What did he do? He sent, this daughter with an entourage, some people, and sent her to an island, like deserted island. Nobody's there. Just her and those people, right? Nobody else is there. So he says, let me see if HaKadosh Baruch Hu can make a shidduch, with this girl, my daughter being on a deserted island. Let me see if this can happen. Let's see. Experiment. Right? So what happened? They say, right? There was this guy, right, who was walking around on the street somewhere. So all of a sudden, right, this guy in the street, he falls asleep, Hashem puts like a big sleep on him, tardema, like Adam Arishon, right? When he wanted to bring his wife, he put a big sleep on him, right? Same thing with this guy. He put a big sleep. So he fell asleep, right in the street. Like, can you imagine? Like a homeless, sleeping in the street. So what happened, right? Came like a big bird, big stork. Big bird, and he took this guy, and flew him over to the island, where the girl was. You know what I mean? So they met over there in the island. Can you imagine? He flew her over. He flew him over. So in the end, right? Shlomo they call him. They tell him, your daughter has found her shidduch. So Shlomo is saying, how did this happen? I put her on the island. What happened over there? What? He swam over there? He was a good swimmer? Oh no! The bird brought him over. Oh, I see. Oh, okay. So now, right? Shlomo HaMelech says, you see, it really works. It really works. It's not just some words. It actually works. So, Rabbi, if that's the case, let me ask you a question, right? Now, what is the purpose of doing shadchanut, right? To be a shadchan? Is there a purpose for this, really? Does Hashem need shadchanim? Matchmakers? The answer is absolutely no. So then why do we have matchmakers in the world? You know why? Parnoseh. They have to make parnoseh, they have to make money. That's the whole thing, right? The only thing that they do is for themselves, to make some money. That's what it is. But Hashem doesn't need them. He can do it without them. That's the truth, emet, Now, right, you see, let me tell you something interesting. Right, in Halacha, I heard from Rav Mutzafi, big rabbi in Yerushalayim. You know what he said? He says, by the Sfaradim, the minhag is that the matchmaker doesn't take any money, They do it for free. Chinam. So, why is that? Because the truth is, as we said, right, you're not really doing anything. So why should you take money for nothing? Hashem makes the matches, not you. You know what I mean? So why do you want to take money? But by Ashkenazim, the truth is, the minhag is that the shadchan does take money. You know what I mean? They have a different custom. Shadchan takes serious money there. Parnasah, right? The income, you gotta have a profession. Some people, that's their profession. They're shadchanim. I'll tell you though, honestly, Maran, my rabbi, he was always, mocking, shadchanim, saying, what do they do, They cheat you, they lie to you, they trick you. They're very tricky people, shadchanim, that's what he said, They're not honest, they're not straight. I mean, what does that mean? They set you up with somebody they know is not compatible for you. You know what I mean? Doesn't have the same credentials, doesn't have the same portfolio. And they set you up anyway to make some money. Nowadays, right, they're doing even more, which is worse. Like today, I think this is already not acceptable. You know what I'm talking about? They charge you just to go out on a date, before that you make a match, before you decide to get married. They tell you, you want to meet her? Give me $300 to meet her. Only to meet her. Maybe you're not going to like her, Should you do this, by the way? No way, right? Tell the shadchan, get out of my face. Go jump in the lake. I don't want to see you. What, you want to charge me to have a date? You're a crook. You're a ganav. What kind of thing is this, Okay, I understand. He charges you if it goes well, They make marriage, Okay, I understand. The shidduch worked out good. Okay, charge. But charge for what? For a date? Most dates don't go anywhere, They come out zero. They come out nothing, So what are you charging for? What, to play roulette, to gamble? This is already too much, what I mean? Anybody who does this, shadchan, you should know he's a bad person, not a good person. Stay away from him. This kind of shadchan, not a good person. What kind of thing is it? For a date, you want $300. Oh, I see. And if it works, then give me $3,000. Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, business. Yeah, it's nice business. What can I tell you, right? I want to tell you also another thing, right? We'll stop a couple of minutes. Interesting. Somebody just asked me, one of our friends over here, I don't remember who it was, last night or 2 nights ago. He said, which one is the real shidduch if a person got divorced, The first one or the second one? Which one is the real shidduch? One of them must be, not the right one, right? Otherwise he wouldn't get divorced or whatever. Which one is the real one? So he told me, he said, that some rabbi told them, always the first one is the real one. Right? And the second one, so what does that mean? Even though you divorced her, eventually, right, in Olam Haba, she's going to come back to you. They're going to return her to you. This woman, that you divorced. That's what he told me. So the truth is, that this may be true in the old days. Why? Why do I say the old days? Because in the old days, the person the woman that a person married was his bat-zug, when he was young, 18 years old, The girl was 16. You know what I mean? This kind of a marriage, right? The old days, when things were straight, right? 16, 18, get married. 20 is too old already. Over the hill, right? Over the hill already. Too old, right? So that's already grandmother. You know what I mean? So as I said, right? Then it was the real one. Yes, the first one was the real one. But the truth is, nowadays there's a lot of bilbulim. If you look at the statistics, right? More than 50% of the people are getting divorced. More than 50%. 60%, 70%, 80%. This is what's happening today. Not only with the goyim, also with the Jews also. I'm talking. Not only with the goyim. So why do we have this kind of thing today? It wasn't like this before. In the old days, when I was a kid, and I saw my grandmother, my uncle, nobody got divorced. Nobody was getting divorced. Divorced? This was a disgrace, scandal, This was a sharuriyah. You got divorced. Nobody got divorced. Everybody stayed married until the end, until the last day. This was the real zivug. You know what I mean? But today, people are getting divorced in 6 months. going to the bed din already, you know. Hi, Rabbi Ben Chaim, how are you? Huh? We came for a get. How are you, Rabbi? This is what's happening today. So, what does that mean? That people are meeting today, you know, a person who's not the Ben Zivug, Bat Zug. She's not the right one for him. But Hashem is making them meet this person, you know. What's the reason for this? There are probably many reasons, you know. We can talk about a lot of things, but one reason is like this, you know. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to bring to the world all the neshamot, you know, which are in Gan Eden. Everyone. It has to come until Mashiach comes, right? Everybody has to come down here. It says in this Chazal that before every neshama comes down here, Mashiach cannot come. Everybody has to be here. Everybody. Every neshama has to be here. You know? So because of that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to bring in all kinds of neshamot into the world. In order to do this, he has to match up sometimes, you know, a man and woman who are not really the proper, you know, they're not compatible. But to make this child, he needs this mother and this father, you know, the combination together. So therefore, what they have to do is, you know, they have to make children, 2 or 3 children, or even more, right? Even though they're not really compatible, but only they can make these children, you know, these two. This husband and this wife, they can make. Nobody else can make these children. So therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you know what, I want to bring everybody to the world. I want to bring every neshama. So I have to make zivugim, which are sometimes not so good, you know, but they serve my purpose, which is to bring everybody here. You know what I mean? This is the thing. So therefore, you know, people tell me, all the time I hear this, you know, from people. They tell me, they say, oh yeah, I got divorced. So I asked them, you know, okay, what do you say about that? So you know what, they always tell me the same thing. I'm glad I got divorced, you know, we weren't compatible. But he says, the kids I love the kids. You know, they love the kids, you know, because the kids are good. But, you know, they didn't get along. They weren't able to be together for a long time, for the whole life. This is the thing, you know. So therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has his own plan, you know. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants everybody to come here. So therefore, he has to make sometimes husband and wife which are not so compatible, because this is the only way to bring them. ברוך ה' לעולם, אמן ואמן. רבי חנן מקשמר, רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לעזור את ישראל. לפיכך קיבל להם תורה ומצוות שנאמר בני חפש, למען צדקו יגדיל תורה וידיר.